time, and I call the honourable member for Braddon.
Well, thank you, Deputy Speaker, and I rise this afternoon to speak on the Corporations Amendment Crowdsourced Funding Bill of 2015. In doing so, Deputy Speaker, I'm supporting the commitment of this government to put jobs, growth and small business at the centre of our economic agenda. This bill is a key component of the Turnbull government's Growing Jobs and Small Business package and the government's response to the Financial Systems Inquiry. But it's only the start, Mr Deputy Speaker, of what will be an exciting and economic-enhancing journey. This package is targeted towards the innovators, small business people and entrepreneurs in the economy, the people who create jobs and increase growth in the local economy. And they've been waiting for this government and past governments to support them in their endeavours. Under the arrangement that this bill puts in place, a regulatory framework to facilitate crowdsourced equity funding will be established. The aim of this framework is to mitigate regulatory impediments in the Corporations Act that make it impractical and costly for businesses to fundraise through crowdsourced equity channels. Crowdsourced equity funding is an exciting new concept in financial markets, particularly for small and start-up businesses. There are businesses and innovators out there who have fantastic ideas that have the potential to grow jobs and the economy, but who struggle to attract finance through the traditional avenues. Crowdsourced equity funding has the potential to fill this gap in the financial market and give innovators a leg up to contribute to our ideas boom. Crowdsourced equity funding is a funding arrangement that allows a large number of individuals to make small financial contributions towards a company or invention in exchange for an equity stake in the company. The funding is typically managed through an online platform and as such reaches many potential investors who may not otherwise have invested through conventional methods. Crowdfunding, Mr Deputy Speaker, has been behind some simple yet effective designs from entrepreneurs who have the ideas but not the capital behind them. A lot of the time, crowdsourced campaigns come from people who notice a problem or scope for improvement in everyday life and decide to do something about it themselves. Examples of these kinds of projects include the Glyph, a tripod for smartphone cameras, and Soul Socks, socks that are invisible yet have the functionality of a conventional sock. An Australian invention, the Beehive trap, raised $15 million from crowdfunding in just 2 months. This new beehive design allows beekeepers to harvest honey without disturbing the hive. The father and son duo from Byron Bay spent a decade coming up with the idea and have made it a reality using crowdfunding. These products are conceptually incredibly simple, yet they are the first of their kind on the market, solving simple, everyday problems. Crowdfunding is not limited to individual inventions and quirky creations. The multi-million-dollar box office hit Veronica Mars was a crowd-funded project. Kristen Bell put the Veronica Mars movie project on Kickstarter, one of the platforms that I spoke about, and broke the website's fundraising record. She raised $2 million in 10 hours. That's $2 million in 10 hours, Mr Deputy Speaker, and had the most backers of any project with over 90,000 supporters. Part of the way crowdfunding works is through the online platforms such as Kickstarter, VentureCrowd, Fundable and Indiegogo, where innovators post a pitch of their idea. Investors can then contribute, if they want to see this idea come to fruition. Mr Speaker, I've got a few ideas of my own that may be open to a crowd-sourced equity funding. I'd like to see a company come up with a Brussels sprout that tastes like a cherry ripe. I'd like to see a money tree that would be capable of paying off Labor's past debt. But I suggest, Mr Deputy Speaker, there are plenty more other ideas out there that people would like to contribute to. In some cases, the ideas have been so popular, the funds have been raised in under 24 hours, or the funding levels have far surpassed the initial target. Crowdsourced funding allows mum and dad investors the chance to invest in what is important to them and the business ventures they want to see succeed in a way that has previously not been available to them. This is an amazing new part of the economic horizon, Mr Deputy Speaker, that we are talking about today. The crowdfunding success stories I've just mentioned clearly demonstrate how simple and easy crowdfunding is. More importantly, they demonstrate how effective it is. Quite simply, if the market supports a project, then the finances will allow it to come to fruition. This is the way of the modern economy. Some of the traditional barriers to economic growth of geographic isolation or limited market access are diminishing day by crowdfunding. This kind of funding is a model that allows for a new economy built off innovation and ideas and a have-a-go attitude. And that's the attitude that this government is absolutely committed to not only supporting but to enhancing and creating the environment for it to take place. This is a have-a-go country. We have built our reputation, we have built our economic platform on the back of a have-a-go attitude. We are people of innovation, we are people of ideas. But like any kind of financial investment structure, the government is also committed to protecting investors through various regulatory measures, including those in this legislation. Retail investors who will share in the success but also the risks of these businesses will have adequate protection under the new crowdsourced equity funding regulations. ASIC will have an ongoing responsibility for both issuing licences to intermediaries and monitoring of the crowdsourced equity funding network. The intermediaries in the network will play an integral part in the integrity of the funding system, with the role of conducting checks on companies prior to their listing. We can't have, Mr Deputy Speaker, the law of the jungle with this. We need a regulatory framework that will ensure issuers and investors have confidence and trust in the intermediary. The intermediary will need to hold an Australian Financial Services licence, which can only be issued by ASIC. Whilst these requirements are designed to protect the investors, some regulatory requirements of public companies have been removed to make it easier for small businesses and start-ups in the early stages of operation. The public disclosure requirement has been reduced, with companies required to offer generic information relating to investor rights and risk warnings rather than full product disclosure statements. The requirement to have an annual general meeting of shareholders has also been removed, as well as reduced annual reporting obligations. These measures do not diminish the rights of the investor. They just peel away some of the paperwork, the red tape and the time-consuming obligations that are incredibly costly to businesses in their infancy. These exemptions cease to apply after 5 years or if the business exceeds the assets and turnover tests of $5 million. This ensures the measures are there just for start-ups and not being exploited by big business aiming to take advantage of their investors. Most importantly, Mr Deputy Speaker, it has the dual purpose of protecting the mum and dad investors in the economy while making it easier to start a business. Mr Deputy Speaker, in my electorate of Braddon there is a strong small business sector, with over 6,000 small businesses across my electorate. And I've always said that if we can encourage just 1 in every 3 or 4 of these small businesses in Braddon to hire just 1 extra person, we would go a long way to solving the unemployment challenge in the northwest of Tasmania. Improvements in technology and the ability for businesses to reach out to customers not in their immediate area has dramatically opened up the possibilities for businesses in my electorate. Businesses in towns like Smithton and Wynyard and Penguin and Latrobe, smaller towns and like the West Coast who are more remote and isolated. Typically they had a relatively small catchment area and customer base to do business. Now, Mr Deputy Speaker, through technology, they can reach out to people wishing to access their goods and services who previously had no access to their business. With this legislation today, Mr Speaker, people out there in my electorate have a fantastic new opportunity. If they have an idea but can't get conventional finance for it, they can use technology to appeal to the rest of the world and crowdfund their project. How exciting the opportunities are opening up for people all around Australia. Crowdfunding allows anyone who believes in their idea to make a small financial contribution in exchange for an equity share in the company. Instead of relying on investors in the community or a bank loan, people can put their idea out there and seek funding from people anywhere in the world that share their dream and share their passion. To the innovators, the entrepreneurs and creators in my electorate, this is an opportunity to use technology to connect with people in the world who support your ideas. There has never been a better time to have a go. A brilliant idea doesn't have to be constrained now by lack of finance in regional Australia, where it's been so hard to find investment, where banks have moved away from supporting those in regional Australia. Instead, with this legislation, Mr Deputy Speaker, someone who has an idea in Strahan or Devonport or Somerset or Ulverston or on King Island, they don't need to appeal to the finances in their local area only. They can go online with their idea and be funded by investors all over the world. Anyone in my electorate willing to invest in a crowdsourced funding campaign will now, as a result of this legislation, be protected by regulations. Financial intermediaries involved in the crowdsourced funding network will need to hold a licence issued by ASIC, and the network will be monitored by ASIC to ensure confidence in the financial system is maintained. This legislation, Mr Deputy Speaker, has the potential to dramatically alter business in my electorate, to boost the economy and grow jobs through new ideas reaching out around the world. If one person in each community is successful in using crowdfunding to start a business, that business becomes another